Welcome back to Runway from the Rav, a Project Runway podcast. My name is Riley.
And I'm Maggie.
And today we'll be discussing All Stars Season 6, Episode 5, Fashion's New Superheroes. So this week the idea was they brought in the Rodial founder. So that's their makeup and like skincare partner for this season. They brought her in, and the idea is that, she was holding a bunch of envelopes, and immediately all the designers are like zeroed in on the envelope, like what's in there? Are we getting like partnered off? Like what's happening? And then Alyssa Milano says, Stanley, since you won the last challenge, you get to pick the first envelope. You didn't get to see what was inside, and then you hand out the other one. So like, what a win, you know, what a great prize to be like, you can pick one of like, I don't know, like 10 or 11 envelopes, but you don't get to look inside, so I hope you got a good one, and then just hand them out, and people will be mad when you give them something bad, but you'll have no idea. Mm-hmm. So he hands them out, and then everybody opens them, and it's like generic terms from Rodial products, like mostly skincare products, so like, one was pink diamonds, another one was like 24 karat gold, another one was smoky, one of them was concealer, like stuff like that. And so it was just kind of like, oh, okay. And then Alyssa says, you need to create an elegant look that channels the inner superhero. And it's because this is Rodial's hero line. Well, what a challenge.
You didn't like it? I actually kind of did like this one.
I didn't like the setup.
Okay.
I'm fine with like the everyday superhero idea, or like channeling like a woman's like internal kind of hero or like power. But the tie-in with Rodial seemed just a little far-fetched for me. And with All Stars, I feel like you don't need to have a sponsor. So it just seems odd that Rodial's already part of it. Do we really have to have like, are we going to have like our Lexus challenge and our Mary Kay challenge? So I don't know. But I like the superhero idea.
Yeah. I mean, I guess what I liked about it was like, I felt like most of them were pretty interesting, like prompts to go off of. Mm-hmm. Like smoky, dragon's blood, bee venom, like most of them sounded kind of cool, and then, you know, there were some that were, it was like, what, gel liner, concealer, like you said.
Yeah.
Some of them were, yeah, way more generic. But, I don't know, some of them were cool.
Yeah, well, it was chance, right? Like, Stanley didn't know it was on the envelope, so he just was, like, handing them out. Mm-hmm. And then it was revealed that they'd only have $150 for this look, which is, I think, about what you'd pay for some skincare. Products, and then also only one day. So this is, I think, one of the lowest amounts of money they'd have at Mood, considering that it's kind of a sponsored episode with kind of a luxury line. And everybody's like, that is not. And then obviously we're still in the 1 day challenge world because we still have quite a few designers left. So they don't usually get into the 2 days until we either have a more complicated challenge or it's a little later in the game. So then they went back to the workroom to sketch, and they got a sample, or they had like the product in front of them. So some of them had like a face mask in a little packet, and some of them had like the little jar. I don't know if how many they were just like reading the packaging to get other words, because it's like dragon's blood. That's a cool thing, but like, how do you make that an elegant dress? But when you start reading the packaging, then it has like other nice words to be like, oh, okay. And then the founder, the Rodial founder, was also in there. I'm going to put this in quotes, helping the designers, and basically like they were like, so what is this product, like what does it do? And she's like, I think that it's like power gothic, you know, for women. And it's like and then she go to the next person, she's like, I think it's strong power for women.
Yeah.
And like you could see her like eyelash glue, like holding on her false eyelashes, and I'm just like, you're from a makeup brand and you're giving like, she's never heard of her own products before. And not to say she invented all of these, obviously. Like, you've found a company and then you have as much hands-on as you want. But she was just, like, saying generic terms.
Yeah, and you're right, like, there wasn't a lot of variation between the descriptions. Like, a lot of them sounded exactly the same.
It's all about, like, strong women and powerful women, which is great. That's a great message. But it's like, okay, so the face mask does that, but then the bee venom does that, but then this other serum does that, and then the foundation does that. So it's just like, really?
Yeah.
So it wasn't super helpful, so it just seemed odd to have her still be there, but she wasn't actually giving great insight. She wasn't even, like, trying to sell the audience the product. She was like, oh, and, like, putting it on the back of her hand or, like, on her face, being like, now this one is super moisturizing down to the molecular level. Like, she didn't, it was just weird. She just went around and said, like, generic phrases, and then all I could look at was her makeup, which was okay until I noticed that I could just see her falsies glue, and it took me out. Okay, as a makeup person, and you're the founder of a makeup brand on not live, but national television.
Yeah.
Go back in with the eyeliner, okay?
I'm not at your level or even her level, so no.
I watch it on a big monitor. I watch it on my computer, and I'm like a foot away, so I can't.
I watched it on our large TV. Didn't notice it.
I'm up close and personal.
Priorities, I suppose.
So then we went to Mood. No Swatch this week, so either he wasn't there that day, or they just couldn't get a good shot of him. And yeah, they had like their classic 30 minutes to shop, people running around. There wasn't a whole lot. The Mood moments here this season are just not, because it's such a short episode. The mood time takes like literally maybe 1 minute, and it's just basically to show at least one person running around, and then at least one person paying money to Mood to be like, see, we pay them, we don't just.
Right.
Do you have anything else about the sketching or the mood?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so then we'll move on to the workroom. The workroom this week was a little strained in the beginning. After the drama with Helen from last week, they jumped right back into it because the producers love that stuff. So we jump right back in, and Helen's there at her workstation, like quietly working, and Anthony starts, now loudly but jokingly, like talking about the drama from last week a little bit, and like in his talking head, he's basically saying, like, she acted like a child, and if you're going to act like a child, then I will treat you that way. Like, if you're going to be dramatic on television when you're being judged around adults and say nasty things, then you're not mature. I'm not going to treat you maturely. And I'm like, that's a fair statement to make. I don't know that I would go, like, poking the sleeping bear that is dramatic Helen myself. But, Anthony's going to do what he wants to do. So he was talking in the workroom a little bit about, childish drama and stuff like that, and it just cut to Helen's face looking like she was about to cry again because she made fun of people, and then people had audacity to make fun of her back. So that was a little awkward, but luckily we moved right past that and just got into the drama of this episode, which was turns out Amanda doesn't know any superheroes, not one.
Yeah.
She literally said, I don't know it. So I'm like, I don't remember exactly how old she is, but I think she's in her 30s. You've lived on this earth, in America, I'm pretty sure, for like 30 some years. You've never heard of Batman or Superman or heck, the X-Men? Like, you've never, Spider-Man? Like, all the Marvel movies that have been coming out for the last 10 years. You never heard of Thor or Iron Man? Like, I guess I'm a bit of a nerd. I love those things. I've seen every Marvel movie. I'm a big fan of Batman, always have been. DC Comics, love it. So the idea that she literally didn't know a single one. Wonder Woman, like, come on, Amanda, go to the movies.
Yeah.
And I know she's like a retro kind of person, but I'm like, there was like, the Batman was like on TV in the 50s, and then I'm pretty sure like Wonder Woman and stuff were on in the 80s. Like,
yeah.
It just, and then all the Superman movies, it just, I don't know any superheroes. Okay. And then her prompt was Pink Diamond, which was like a face mask, and she was like, I don't like pink. And I'm like, well, same, but you don't have to use the like pink if you don't want. You could just go off the diamond idea or off any other idea, or you could use a minimal amount of pink. She goes to Mood and buys like 10 different types of pink. And then the second she gets back in the workroom, she's like, gosh, I just don't like pink. It's like, what are you doing? Marlene was also struggling a little bit. She had a design up on the form, and then we'll get to the Anne critiques in a minute, but Anne comes around and basically is like, I like this, but I think it's a little Star Trek, which everyone always says about Marlene stuff because it's futuristic, and you know what, there's more to the future than Star Trek, so yeah. But that's what people always say, and probably because it's an easy cop-out to be like, it looks like Star Trek, it's derivative, and it's like, okay. And then she completely remade her design, and then she was struggling because her construction isn't the best.
Yeah.
No one else really seemed to be struggling too much. And when Anne came around, she gives her usual mildly unhelpful critiques.
What did she say to Josh?
Yeah, so when she came around to Josh, he was working on, now his was concealer, I think, was his prompt. So he was making something inspired by lingerie that then he would kind of like obscure a bit with like some lighter fabric on top. So you could kind of see it, but kind of couldn't. And he's kind of known, especially at least this season, for making some, kind of revealing sexy outfits. Mm-hmm. And she was like, I just don't want it to be, it needs to be fashion, it needs to be a whole look. Like, lingerie is not a look. And he, the second Anne turned around, he, kicks the air behind her and gives this, face of just pure attitude. And then he storms off as she's, walking someplace else. Or that's how the edit made it seem like she was still in the room. And he, wanders off. And I have a quote from him, what he says when he storms off. But he was quite offended that she thought that his look was not a whole look.
Yep.
And then, otherwise Anne just kind of goes around and is like, I like it. Make sure it's fashion forward, but she gives you no tips on making it fashion forward. Mm-hmm. She gives very little assistance in that regard. She either just says that, it looks matronly or it looks fashion forward.
She's very, surface level.
Yeah.
She doesn't give you, and, if it doesn't look literally like what it's gonna look like the next day, then she's, I don't know. I feel like she doesn't, listen to the vision as much as Tim does.
Yeah, she looks at the drawing, and then if what you're putting on the form is still in a conceptual phase or isn't fully constructed yet, or the colors are slightly different because, you only brought, your 12 friction erasable marker pens, you don't have the exact colors of mood fabrics, but, she just doesn't seem to get the creative connection, which probably comes from, she's an editor. She's not, not to say she's a creative person, but she probably hasn't made a lot of garments herself. So I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt this season, but really her critiques are about at the level that Zana's were to me, where it's super surface level. There's not a lot of actual help. I think she seems a little more engaged than Zana did. Sometimes when Zana walked in, it was like, does she know what room she's in?
Yeah.
But it's not great either.
I mean, it's hard because there's nobody who's going to be better than Tim, but yeah.
But they could at least get another instructor of some kind, or I would be happy if they brought in someone who's been pretty successful from Project Runway or something like that to come back in. Mm-hmm. But whatever. Any other work? Well, I do have one more. Okay, so then we got a little bit of bonding between some contestants. Fabio, Ken, and Anthony have by this point created a little group, and they call themselves the Sister Wives. And they are all getting along and becoming friends, and they were helping each other out just a little bit. So, Fabio, when Anne came around, said that his look looked matronly because of the print in the cut for the dress underneath his look. And he was like, I just don't see it. So he was like, Anthony, Ken, can you come over and help me? And they're looking at it, and Anthony's like, I don't see matronly. And Ken's like, yeah, I don't. Mm-hmm. It's modest, but it's not matronly to them, right? And at a later point, Ken is steaming his look, and he's using a fabric that wrinkles easily, so he needed help to spread it open as he was ironing it and steaming it. So he was like, hey Fabio, can you help me? And then Fabio sees it's a 3-person job, so he's like, Anthony, get over here. Mm-hmm. And Anthony's always seems done early, but he doesn't sleep. He's not a napper. We've seen nappers in previous seasons. He just keeps tweaking it or standing around posing. And so they're getting along, and Amanda gets a talking head where she's like, this is a competition. We shouldn't be here to make friends. And it's like, well, okay, that's true. And then she's like, and I think it's cheating. And I'm like, coming off of last season of the normal show, when we legitimately had cheating, and it wasn't the first time, but the twins' level of helping each other, quote unquote, was borderline cheating already. But then to find out that they were also, or at least one of them was measuring clothes they owned to make, definitely cheating. So it's just when we had actual cheating, a few months ago for the audience, and I know this is pre-recorded way before that other one, but it's just having a little help of someone to bounce ideas off of, not cheating. Have someone else help you iron something, not cheating. If you bond with somebody, I think that's great. And we've seen Amanda, before Candace left, had some moments where she walked over and, got a little help from Candace in terms of just, like, ideas. And it's like, every season there's people who bounce ideas off of other people. I think when you start to rely on it too much is when you have some issues. Like, I remember a couple seasons ago, Natalia was relying on somebody, and once they left, she was like, oh, now what? Or obviously the twins, once one left, it was like, well, there goes the whole ship. So I disagree with Amanda, but how do you feel about the Friends? If you were on a competition, would you make some buds?
No, I agree. Like, I didn't see it as cheating. I think that's fine. I feel like it's probably kind of, I don't know, not like rare, but I feel like it's probably kind of hard to make friends because it is a competition.
Right.
And so, I don't know. If you can, why not?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, we've seen them, like, talk to each other, like, stand around each other, but I don't know. Until I see them, like, literally cutting and sewing an entire look, like, I don't even care if they hem something. Like, to me, it's using your resources wisely. Same thing if you have your model, like, glue your sequins on your bell-bottom pants. Like, I don't care.
It's kind of like, what did Amanda say last week about... She was like, it doesn't need to be this deep. Like, during the, like,
and then this
thing.
time, it maybe what she said was out of context or whatever, but she was specifically talking about the sister wives at that time when she was, and it's like, and not everybody's going to make friends, you know, and not everybody's, but it seems like every reality show, there's always someone who's like, this is a competition and I'm not here to make friends. And I'm like, well, then you're just going to go out early, or the first team challenge, you're going to be screwed. So... I don't know. It was a weird high horse moment for Amanda when she was struggling and just like maybe focus on your own work, because this is the second week in a row where you're. Yeah. Anything else from the workroom?
Nope.
Okay, so I will mention there was one tiny moment with Merlene talking to herself. What she does, and we usually see it a little bit. I remember in her actual first season, they showed it all the time, and everybody hated her. Because every time she was in, like, the workroom or the sewing room, she's, like, singing and talking, like, loudly, just to herself, like, you can do it, don't give up, you've got this. And then, like, singing, and other people are like, oh my god, really? She's not the only person to do that, but she I remember on her season, they made a big deal of it. They show it, like, a little bit, but this week, because they were already getting a little of some Joshua realness, they cut to his face when she started talking to herself in the workroom, and he looked right at the camera and just gave this face that reminded me of Kenya last season, who was just always, like, serving up some realness when the twins were being, like, running around and tripping Kenya would just look at the camera with this face that was just like, children. Like, Joshua did the same thing. So moving on to the runway.
Yep.
So our guest this week was Karolina Karkova, who is a supermodel. I can't say that I've ever necessarily heard of her. And the way her hair was pulled back so severely, I didn't recognize her. Do you know who she is? They said she's been on, like, covers.
I've heard of her, but no, not, like, super familiar.
Yeah, so then you're not a supermodel. No, I'm just kidding. They said she's been on, like, a ton of magazine covers and stuff, and I believe it. I mean, you know, beautiful woman, but I didn't recognize her. So first up down the runway, we had Fabio, and his word was snake. And he put down the kind of a two-piece look. So underneath is the dress, which he did not alter after Anne came around. He took the sister wives' advice and left it. So it's this black fabric pattern with, like, a blue kind of circle, or it might be slightly more organic shape than just a hard circle. And at the top, it's sleeveless, cut up to the neck. The back has kind of like an inverted... I'm sorry, no, it just has like a V cut in the back, goes down to about the mid-calf, and then around the waist, it has like a skirt tied around it. I don't know how to describe it. It's like a thicker, heavier black fabric with like the paper bag waist, kind of cinched around, and then that has pockets, and that drags just lightly over the floor, and it's open kind of in the front, so it's like tied around like an apron. What did we think of Fabio's?
I really liked it, and I can't explain why. Because, I don't know. It's very Fabio. I like this interpretation of snake, because, I don't know, I'm glad that he didn't go super literal with it at all, because I personally am afraid. I didn't want to see any snake skin. Nothing literal, so I'm glad he didn't. I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool, kind of moody. I don't know. What'd you think?
Yeah, so his superpower was that she could shed her skin and like renew herself,
Yeah.
which is it's a reptilian kind of thing, which is cool. But yeah, I like that he didn't go like green or like actually try to make it look like, you know, textured or skin or anything.
Yeah.
And then the idea of the shedding is that little skirt like pops, like comes off. And then it's kind of rough and textured like dead snake skin, which is just so super fashion-y to talk about. I like this. It reminded me a little of the look he made for the pairings challenge. I think it was Fabio, where he made like a jumpsuit that also had like this like a train kind of skirt. This like just the idea of like a second piece tied around the waist kind of reminded me of that.
Yeah.
But I like this, and I wouldn't get snake just looking at it, but when he described it, I was like, yeah, I get it. Like, you shed this skin and it still has a full dress underneath. I thought it was fine. It didn't wow me, put that way, but I liked it.
Okay.
Next up we had Helen, and her prompt was 24 karat gold. And I don't think we heard what the superpower was, but it was probably like she can turn stuff to gold or something.
She told Anne in the workroom, but I don't remember what it was.
It was something about turning something to gold, I thought. Like a Midas kind of thing. And what she put down is a dress, and she got this like really light, like kind of yellowy gold and slightly shimmery fabric. And she put down a strapless gown that has some cutaways on like the sides or the obliques. And then it's real tiered and not tiered, sorry. It's like flowy, all the way to the floor. And then in the back, it's got like 3 kind of pleats to hold it up a bit. And then it's just kind of got a bit of a train. And it's all that shimmery light gold. What did we think of Helen's?
I thought this one was alright. I like that she added the cutouts because, like, I don't think it would have worked well without them. But at the same time, I feel like it creates a weird shape in the front and the back. And, like, I don't know. I don't love how it comes over the bust like that. Like, maybe it's just the cutouts that make the neckline look weird to me. But, I don't know. I like this. I like the fabric she chose, though. And, like, this color of gold. I thought that worked well. Because it was, like, a warmer gold. I don't know. What'd you think?
I don't know how to feel about the cutouts. I kind of like them in the back, but I don't really like them in the front. They just really, I mean, and this is already obviously all, you know, these models are more traditional size models, so they're all pretty thin, and it just, I don't know, it's like this weird like optical illusion that just makes her then look even smaller, but in like a really weird, like on her rib cage, like it's just kind of a weird area. And then I agree, it does something weird to the bust then. So I guess I either wish the cutouts were more like in the back or something else, but all told, it's not that exciting of a dress. It's kind of to me, it's kind of like beige. Yeah. Maybe in person it like shimmered a little more, but it's like this like beige dress with some weird cutouts. But I'm sorry, Fabio chose her fatigue in the top, and Helen was safe. Next up we had Edmund, and his prompt was contouring. And of course, classic Edmund was like, let me make a sexy dress. So Edmund made this, I don't even know how to explain this. It's like a halter top dress, but the halter top is basically just 2 pieces of fabric that go over her breasts and then meet in the middle, like below her bust, and then it's just, there's nothing else, and then it connects to like the skirt of the dress. And one half of that is the like this black and silver sequin, where it's kind of like, they're kind of popular right now, like pillows and stuff that have those sequins that when you like brush your hand up, you see one color, when you brush them down, it's the other color. Those are like super in right now. So he basically has that, and then the other part is just black. And then that sequin pattern he cut out because he didn't want to use too much of it, and he kind of did these winding patterns, which kind of look like, I guess, a face contour or something, or like the contours of her body around in this big swirly black dress. And then paired with this, he has this black leather cape jacket thing that fits over her shoulders like a jacket but doesn't actually close. And then that goes all the way to the floor, and he called it a cape. What did we think of Edmund's?
This one was one of my least favorites. I don't know, I'm bored with Edmund. Like, to me, he hasn't really changed that much from previous seasons. And, like, I don't know, I haven't really liked anything too much that he's made so far this season. Like, it all just, I don't know, it all looks different, but it still feels one note to me. Like, it's all just, like, the sexy dress stuff.
Uh-huh.
And, like, I don't know. I really didn't like the cape on this look. And what was his word again? Contouring. That's right.
But I don't remember what her special ability was.
No, I don't either. I don't know. This one, to me, this dress, like, it didn't stand out at all. What do you think?
I will give Edmund I don't even want to say props. The credit that he's really the only person who did something that was slightly superhero-y and that he made a cape.
Okay, yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't think his cape was super successful, but he was literally the only person who made, like, no one made, like, an eye mask, like, you know, like, or any type of other superhero kind of famous thing. I wish his cape was done better. I think the idea of a leather cape is just a little like, what? But why? And obviously it's pleather. And then the size of the cape, the proportions of it, the picture I'm looking at where she's like turned away and it's just on her back, it just looks like she's like holding like an inflatable raft. And that's like the bottom of it. Or like a tarp or something. It's not good. And then the dress itself, the only thing that makes it kind of cool is the sequin thing, which, and I don't know exactly when they filmed this, but it's kind of like played out now. Like I see that, like if you can see those pillows for like $5 or $10 at Walmart, like the trend's done. It's dead. It's over. Moving on. So it just, he just makes sexy little dresses. And here's another one. He used it, chosen for critique in the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Next up we had Char, and her prompt was bee venom. And she made this, or she got this black and white striped fabric that, and the stripes kind of varied. So they started close up, and then as the fabric got bigger, they got further away. And so she made separates, I believe this is. So it's slightly high-waisted black pants with slight like white stripes down them all the way to the floor, and then the top is like this little crisscross neck like halter top with white and black stripes, but the white is more predominant there, and then those like flow down the front of her into like two like long, I don't even know, like tails kind of in the front, and then when she walks they kind of flow behind her, and then she paired these with some bright yellow heels, I think to give a nod to the bee. Mm-hmm. What did we think of Char's?
This one, I don't know. I mean, I like it, but at the same time, I'm not sure about it. Like, to me, the proportions are a little strange. But, I don't know. I thought it was kind of a cool interpretation of the bee venom without being, like, super literal, like, black, yellow.
Right.
But, what'd you think?
Yeah, I really like that she played with the stripes instead of playing with, like, the bees. And then I should have mentioned, like, the back is all, like, full cutaway. To me, I'm just, as I'm looking at it, still, like, I don't know, like, is it a jumpsuit? Is it separates? I don't know. I don't know that that's necessarily an issue that I don't know. It just, I like the idea of it, I guess. We'll stay with that. I don't dislike it at all. I think it's kind of a cool graphic piece. She was safe, though. Next up, we had Kimberly, and her prompt was illuminating. So she got, like, the, like, highlighter or, like, illuminator. And her, like, idea for her superhero was that it was, like, a single mom.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, a real world kind of hero, I guess. And so she put down, I don't know how to describe this. Okay, so it's like an apron dress, kind of, like a smock dress. And it's this real, like, silky kind of fabric. It's, like, white or slightly off-white. Deep V in the front, no sleeves. Has kind of this cutaway back just a bit at the sides. It's hard to tell. It might have pockets, and then at the bottom of the top, it's got like these like roses on it, like big, like photorealistic light pink roses, and then that is the bottom of the dress is safety pinned to the bottom of a pant leg. So not a full pant. There's no full pant. There's like just from the knee down part of the pant. Full on roses, same roses. Safety pin to the... What did you think of Kimberly's?
I thought this was super bizarre. Like, I don't know. I mean, I can get illuminating from it, I guess. But, like, I don't know. I don't like the like pant things. This is like a stupid tangent, but if you've ever seen the movie Crazy Stupid Love, there's a scene where Ryan Gosling is like, calf pants, and that's all I can hear in my head is
that's what she's
Ryan
got.
Gosling saying, they're calf pants. Calf pants. It's a great movie. There's a little plug. But, that's all I see. What do you see? What do you think?
This, to me, looks like some type of, like, terrible fancy chocolate or soap that's got, like, rose petals in it that, like, your grandma has in the bathroom, but it doesn't let you use, and it's, like, 30 years old. If Kimberly's inspiration had been something rose-scented, I would have gotten it. But to me, I don't get illuminating from this, other than it's, like a shiny white kind of fabric. I don't get it at all. I don't get it. What the heck's a single mom gonna do with safety pin calf pants? I just don't understand it. And then the model's hair is styled in this, like, weird, huge braid that, like, ends halfway down. Like, it does. I don't get it. She was safe, and I don't get that either. Next up, we had Merlene, and her prompt was magic gel. And she was like, I'm just gonna go with the magic part.
Yeah.
I don't remember what her, like, superpower was. They all kind of, like, or most of them, like, said it to Anne, but I didn't. Not everyone's was super interesting. Hers was, like, she can, like, find the magic in people. I don't know.
Yeah.
So she ended up putting down this, like, really light gray, kind of like pewter-colored dress, with her custom Merlene seams, one across the bust, and then two that go down the front. It's got these, like, oversized boxy shoulders with a blue stripe that runs from one shoulder to the neck and then through the neck into another shoulder. The back has a V cut at the bottom, and then the front slightly kind of push out a bit, but it's pretty skin tight. What did we think of Merlene's?
This one I really didn't like at all. Like, over the shoulders, I don't know. The shoulder things are just completely unnecessary. I didn't really like the color scheme that she chose. Like the blue and the gray. I don't know. I didn't like it. The judges really picked out, like, the seaming, and I agree with that too. Like, the seams were put in, like, kind of strange or, like, unflattering places and weren't, like, extremely well done either. Which, I know, it's not a sewing competition, but still.
True.
Everybody else seems to, like, have a higher quality with construction most of the time, so I don't know. What'd you think?
I feel like Merlene pulls to this gray color a lot, and she also pulls to this like a statement shoulder quite often. Mm-hmm. To me, this looks like a stewardess like 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Totally. So it's like it looks like she's missing like her little like wing pin or something like that. I don't think the styling of the hair, which is just a super like simple ponytail with a bit of bang hanging out, helps that. It's not very futuristic. I wish that Merlene had not changed her design idea when Anne came around. So, like, no one else really listens to Anne. like Fabio, this looks matronly. I disagree. I'm going to do what I want. But Merlene has been listening to Anne, and it helped her, like, in the first, like, couple episodes, but now it is not. She originally had this super cool, like, asymmetrical thing, like, over one shoulder, and it had a lot of, like, texture and volume to it that she was going to drape fabric over. And Anne was just like, it looks Star Trek to me. And then Merlene still made a Star Trek design, basically. But it's boring. Like, it's so simple. And yeah, it's not executed well. The seams are all over the place. The shoulders don't quite line up. It just... She chose her critique in the bottom. Next up, we had Stanley. And his prompt was smoky. Mm-hmm. So I think when he opened his envelope, since he handed them all out, he was probably like, oh, thank God. Like, because you can do something with smoky. Like, there's a couple ideas that come to mind. And yep, he did the very first one. What a guy. So he ended up putting down this dress. So the top is this halter top dress with a crisscross back, but it's open in the back. And then the dress itself is made of this like floral patterned fabric that's like got like blues and greens and whites and like kind of some light pinks in it. And then over top of that on the front, he put two black like kind of pieces of this really like the see-through fabric. I'm not sure what he used exactly, like if it's organza or tulle or what. Mm-hmm. But so you can kind of see through it, but it makes a bolder statement at the top. And then around the skirt of the dress, he covered that with that lighter fabric as well. So you can kind of see through it, through the black. Get it? It's smoky. And that goes floor length. What do we think of Stanley's?
This one, it was just okay. Not my favorite. I was like kind of puzzled by why he went to floral. Like,
because it's Stanley.
Yeah. Like, smoky. Okay. Floral. Like, I don't know. I don't see the connection. Like, I feel like he could have done something, like, really, really cool with, like, different layers of, like, blacks or blues or, like, purples, like, gray. I don't know. He could have done something awesome, but instead he put black mesh over a floral pattern. It wasn't my favorite. What'd you think?
I think that's my biggest issue with Stanley, is that all season long, like, he's just made kind of, like, they're elegant pieces, but as Anne said this episode, like, elegant is, like, right next to boring. Like, to be elegant, it has to be perfect and statuesque and all this other stuff, and, like, he just makes things that are borderline elegant, but are right in line with being boring. Like you said, there's a ton of cool ideas he could have done with, like, smoky, or he could have done something that had, like, this wispy kind of feel, or, like, these really cool pieces that kind of flowed off of the body, or even just, like, I could have seen, like, this, like, 20-foot long train and just had, like, a moment where it just, like, even though it's not the wind way, it could have just flowed behind and been really cool. But yeah, instead he took, like, some, like, ugly curtain fabric from the 80s and wrapped it in some, like, see-through black fabric. It's like, Jesus, it's boring. I could see, like, any older woman, like, wear this to an event.
Yeah.
Like, they would just pair it with a shawl to hide their old lady arms. That's it.
Yeah.
He was safe, however. Next up, we had Amanda, and her prompt was pink diamond, and she immediately was just like, I don't like pink. So she went forward and made something that has about 12 shades of pink in it. Okay, I don't like pink either, so I think I would have, or choose a different type of pink. So anyway, she ended up putting down this, like, floor-length dress, so at the top it crisscrosses over itself, and she got this kind of, like, champagne-y color, like this rose gold kind of color. Then she has, like, bright pink that she had to paint that way because she couldn't find it, red, and then, like, this lighter kind of corally pink. And she basically just patterned it and made a bunch of, like, kind of half chevron shapes, some, like, rectangles, and just color blocked the heck out of this skirt. It's kind of belted at, like, the true waist, and then the top is just this really simple little kind of, like, crisscross thing. What did we think? And it does have pockets, though. What did we think of Amanda's?
I'm sure this is the unpopular opinion, but I really didn't think this was that terrible. Like, I liked her, I thought color blocking was a good idea. And then, like, adding in the angles the way that she did, too. Like, to me, I could totally see diamond in this. I mean, I agree. I'm also not a fan of pink. But if she wanted to be, like, literal, she could have, I don't know, hate to say it, but even millennial pink could have been cool in this case. Like, I don't know. It didn't have to be, like, all these different shades of pink, and the one she chose, like, they kind of clash. Maybe it's just the lighting in the photo, because, like, some of the fabrics were, like, shinier. But, I don't know. The colors don't work very well together. And, like, I think one of the judges' comments was that it felt very heavy. And I felt that way, too. Like, the fabric didn't move super well. So, I don't know. Not her best, but I didn't feel that it was the worst. What'd you think?
I'm not a huge fan of this. To me, it looks a lot like what she made last week out of balls. I think if you get stuck on the color, then you, like, her solution to the color issue was to color block. And I think she would have been more successful, one, if she'd either leaned on, like, the diamond idea, or, if she just, like, she chose, like, Barbie pink. It's like, that's going to clash with a lot of items, and that's a lot of pink. Like, if you're going to do pink like that, it either needs, like, to be, like, this, like, drama moment, like, peekaboo kind of thing, and then there it is, or it has to just, it's this, where it doesn't quite mesh with everything else. There's a million colors of pink out there, and I just think Mood's got a lot of fabrics. We've seen some that I'm like, why do they even sell that? So I know they got some pink stuff. So this just, to me, doesn't make sense. And then the dress itself, yeah, it looks like heavy, and the skirt just looks like old and frumpy. Not a fan. And then the top, I don't get it. It's like red mesh with like a bondage crisscross. I don't get it. But she was trouser fatigue in the bottom. I don't think it was the worst look, but I certainly agree it was a weak look.
Yeah.
Next up we had Joshua, and his prompt was concealer. And he was very inspired by lingerie, as it turns out. He basically put down this white corset with black boning detail. I don't know if he actually put boning in or if he just like sewed black pieces of fabric to look like boning. And then he also had like stockings, and then he had like, I think they're called garters, where it's like holding it up, but it's not actually holding up anything. It's just banded around her thigh. And then over top of that, there's just black tulle in like 3 poofs up and down her body, kind of. What did we think of Joshua's?
This one, I thought it was okay. I mean, to me, this was certainly a more exciting look than some of the others on this episode. I don't know. It's definitely fashion. You'd never see this on the street.
Well, this is for the bedroom, Maggie.
I don't know. I kind of like this take on concealer. To me, I was like, oh, that's a bad one. Like, I wouldn't want to get concealer if it was me. But I feel like this was kind of a cool solution to that. What do you think?
I want to like the idea of it, like, obscuring the lingerie. I wish the tulle part was more... There was something more to it. It just doesn't seem super resolved to me. It's like you put like 2 or 3 tiers of this stuff on it. It kind of obscures, but not enough. So if this was a concealer, it's not doing a great job. Like, I want that blemish gone. I want those dark circles gone. I ain't got time for that. Mm-hmm. So to me, I wish it was slightly different. And then, yeah, it's just lingerie. Like, I mean, it looks good. Like, it looks like sexy lingerie that you'd want to, it's almost Thanksgiving, Jesus.
It's got my Thanksgiving lingerie.
You know what gets me going now. It's almost Valentine's Day, is what I meant to say. And so the lingerie kind of, to me, just immediately goes to like, is that super elevated fashion? No. Yeah. I think Heidi Klum would love this. I just wish the tulle did something else. I wish the conceal part was more than what it was. Mm-hmm. Next up, we had Anthony, and his prompt was Dragon's Blood. I'm sorry, Joshua was safe. And so Anthony put down this white, and he said what he was using, like silk charmeuse or something, like a really nice fabric. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of this like ivory, like white colored dress with a very rounded kind of scoop neck in the front, just above her breasts, and then the back has a slightly bigger scoop neck. And then it's kind of like a sheath dress down to just past her knee, and then the sleeves are where it's at here. So these huge puff sleeves that then come back in around like her forearm, but the puff extends past it, and they're very large. Poofy shirt. What did we think of Anthony's?
This one was one of my favorites. I thought it was really cool. Like, head to toe. I don't know. I thought the dress was really well made, and I liked how he styled it. Like, I feel like the model's hair looks really cool.
Yeah, it's like a black bob, kind of.
Uh-huh. And, like, it's kind of, like, soft and curvy, like the dress is. Like, I don't know. I thought it was cool. Anthony is surprising me this season with some of the stuff he's been making.
Did you watch his original season? Because I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Was he making dresses and stuff like this? No?
He's definitely improved, I think.
Okay. I like this a lot. I'm not really a big puff, poof, frill, ruffle person, as, listeners of the podcast know, but when it's just a big statement piece like this and the rest was simple, I like it. And his idea for his superpower was that, instead of going like blood or like Game of Thrones, which is what the Rodial founder said she was inspired by, instead of going that route, he said that she could heat up her body temperature and inflate her sleeves and then fly away, which doesn't get much more dragony than filling up your puffy wings. No. So his inspiration was a little but I think this is a beautiful, and as the judges like to say on the show, it looks luxe to me. Like, I think some other contestants were like, did you have the same one? Like, I can't believe that this dress was made in a day and that it only has $150 worth of materials. Yeah. Like, I don't know what it is. The tailoring, at least from afar, looks impeccable. Like, the scoop lines, both the sleeves are even. Like, it's a little out there, but it's high fashion, and to me, it is. He was Trouser Fatigue at the top. Mm-hmm. And then last up, we had Ken, and his inspiration was super acids, which is like, ooh, another one where it's like, ooh, acid. Okay. Acid, venom, snake. So he put down a jumpsuit. Although I don't think we warrant that. There's not that many jumpsuits this season.
Not yet.
But this is like, in the image it looks more like an orange red, but on the show it looked more like kind of that watermelony red, where it was like a warmer kind of corally red. He made jumpsuit, deep V in the front, oversized pant legs, like 2 or 3 times the normal size, so they're real flowy. And then the back goes fully up, and then the sleeves here have like these ruffles on them, all the way down to the wrist. And then he styled his model with a bald cap, so they like slicked back her hair and put a bald cap on, because his idea was the superhero part was like people fighting with cancer or people who are bald for other health reasons, and that like the super acid part is that she can like take it from people and like make them better. I don't know. He had like this long story, and the judges were like, I don't know what you said, but like, yeah. What do we think of Ken's?
I mean, I don't know. I liked it, but at the same time, like, his big poofy sleeves, they don't have the same effect that Anthony's did. Like, to me, this reads like a little costumey, or at least a little more in that costumey direction. Like, Anthony's did not read costume at all, but this one kind of does. But I don't know. I'm glad that he went with a cool, like, bold color, and that it wasn't like an acid green.
Yeah.
Like, the red was a cool, bald choice. Bald. I'm getting my mind, because I was looking at the bald cap when I was trying to say bold. Sorry. And then, my next thing that I was going to say regarding the bald cap, I kind of like that idea. Like, I liked the story. I didn't like how the judges were so dismissive. Like, I think Isaac was like, well, that's just gimmicky and he's trying too hard. But right. I'm like, it's part of the challenge. Like, they're supposed to come up with a superhero, like, power and story. And
right.
Like, he actually did. And his, like, to me, his was actually meaningful. It's not just some, like, silly power, like, whatever. Like, I don't know. I feel like the bald cap, it looked weird, but that's because she has hair.
Right.
You know? But, right. Like, for the concept, though, I like the concept.
Yeah. Well, I like that Ken kind of put them in their place, like the second someone said that during the critique, because he was chosen for critique in the top. Like, I think it was Isaac or somebody said something. He's like, well, there's people watching it right now who are bald, and I want them to feel confident, too. Mm-hmm. One, Ken's bald, either by choice or because he shaves it, I don't know. But, like, so you're telling a bald man that the baldness is... And it's like, yeah, it's true. And there's plenty of women out there and men who have cancer or other treatments where they've had to shave their head, or maybe they have, like, I don't know how you pronounce it, so I won't try. But there's a disease where your hair falls out, or things like that, or stress and stuff. So it's like, yeah, there's plenty of people out there who bald by choice or by not, mm-hmm. who still want to feel confident. And then obviously it's a huge superpower to, like, beat a deadly disease.
Yeah.
So the bald cap thing, I really didn't like how all of the judges, like, dismissed it as, like, this, like, thing. Mm-hmm. I'm like, it's a superhero challenge. Like, really?
Yeah.
As for his look, it looks to me like kind of like a flamenco dancer outfit. Like, the ruffled sleeve top, if it was in white, would just be, like, the Jerry Seinfeld, like, puffy shirt. And then, like, the wide leg pants. I'm not sure I quite get it. I like the jumpsuit better than a dress for the superhero challenge, though. Mm-hmm. I don't like this particular jumpsuit, but I like the idea of a jumpsuit more than I like the idea of, like, a ball gown. Mm-hmm. So that leaves us with Fabio, Anthony, and Ken in the top. Oh my gosh, it's all the sister wives. Oh my gosh, it's almost like having friends and having a healthy social life and, like, good mental health means you can make better things. I don't know. What? Friendship?
Wow. Huh.
It's magic. And Edmund, Merlene, and Amanda in the bottom. So, right away they're like, Ken, you're safe. And it was between Anthony and Fabio, and they turned out it was Fabio is our winner. Did we agree with that?
Yeah, like, it's fine. I personally think I liked Anthony's a little bit better, but between, like, I would have definitely put those as my top 2. So, whatever, you know. I don't think Fabio had won one yet, had he?
I don't recall, but he will get, I should have said he will get a year's worth of Rodial items now. Yeah, he's won before. Him and Ken won the pairing challenge, I think.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know if he's won alone yet, but he will get a year's worth of Rodial supplies, which means that if he wins the show, does he get 2 years of Rodial supplies?
Oh.
Or does he get just like double for a year? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think I liked Anthony's a little better, but I think they were both strong looks. So I'm not mad at it. So that meant Anthony was safe. And then, as a reminder, our bottom was Edmund, Merlene, and Amanda. They almost immediately were like, Edmund, you had a low score, but you're safe. So it was between Merlene and Amanda. The tension drawn out, then cut. Amanda, you're going home. How do we feel about that?
I'm not thrilled. I mean, this season is really beating me down because I don't know if I've ever agreed with the judges, like, on a decision, on an elimination decision yet this season. Except for maybe the first episode, but I don't recall.
Yeah, Casanova,
yeah. Okay. I think that might have been the only one since then. Because what are we on? 4 or 5? 5. Yeah. I don't know. I think in this case, I would have sent Marlene home because she's, I don't know. To me, like, she's not improving. Like, I don't know. This one, to me, is probably driven by a personal preference. Amanda's my girl! And now she's not. She's gone.
It seems odd to me that they would bring back so many fan favorites for this All-Stars. And then within the first few episodes, a lot of them are gone. And some of them I agree with, but like this time I would have put Kimberly in the bottom and I probably would have sent her or Merlene home. I think in this instance I would have sent Merlene home because she's already made a similar look to this and it wasn't any better. Yeah. So to me it's like, well, okay, so one's a bad look and the other's a bad look round 2. I would have sent Merlene home. But honestly, Kimberly's look was terrible. And I thought much worse than Amanda's was. But either way, Amanda, au revoir.
I knew that Amanda probably wasn't going to win, but I'm just like, you're killing me.
Well, she went to the finals when she was on her season. She didn't have the best runway, as I remember, at New York Fashion Week, but she got to go. Mm-hmm. So, yep. Quotes?
Let's do it.
All right. So I don't have a ton this week, but I've got some. So Anthony, while they're sketching in the workroom, and they have their products, he opens his. He says, "You can tell this is a luxury product. You can smell the luxury," which. Yeah, I mean, I guess, face creams and stuff always seem to have, a certain kind of smell that's, borderline medicinal, unless it's heavily scented, which then you probably shouldn't be smothering it on your face, but I just thought that was kind of funny. Next up, we had Joshua after the Anne critique, and he kicks the air and storms out. He's like, "I made a dress out of baseballs. I can send a look down the runway." So he was very offended that she said that it wasn't a full look. Next up, we had Georgina talking about Ken's look. So this is the only thing I have about the bald cap. And she said, "I have to question the kind of condom," which is how she pronounced it. Which I think it gave the appearance of that because it's obviously like a rubber skull cap. Yeah. They have to glue on and then kind of blend into the model's head. But it's but you got the idea he was going for. It's not Ken's fault that the hair people you chose don't know how to apply a bald cap right. It's not Ken's fault. And it's temporary. This girl's gonna wear it for an hour, maybe 2, depending on how many times they film stuff, and then she's gonna take it off and go home. It just, to put it that way just was in poor taste.
It really was.
And then other people were talking about it as well, but it's just really, Georgina. And then Ken's look, when he came back into the area where they all kind of wait, they were like, "Oh, what'd they say? And he's like, "Well, Georgina called it a condom," and it's just oh my god. What an insult for unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we had Anthony to Merlene, because when they came in, she's like, well, I'm in the bottom, and Amanda was like, me too, and Merlene was like, well, it's going to be me going home. Anthony said, that's not your job to eliminate yourself. Your job is to believe in yourself. And Anthony, thank you. That is an amazing quote, and it's true. I know we're not all on a competition of design, but it's true. Like, you're stopping yourself from doing things. Rarely ever can you truly blame it on someone else. It's almost always you stopping yourself. Next up, we have Isaac talking to Anthony, talking about Anthony's look while they were judging. He said, I have an annoying question. Is this dress too pretty? And Georgina was like, you can't say that. You can't say that it won't win because it's too pretty, even though they kicked Ari off for making stuff that was too pretty. And then Isaac's like, you're too pretty, Georgina. And all the judges had to laugh at me. Laugh, Maggie.
No.
It's terrible. They're all like, oh, Georgina, you're so pretty. And now I'm just like, you know what? I'm like, I don't know Georgina's involvement in all of that stuff with her ex-husband, but I find it hard to believe that she had absolutely no inclination of what was going on, because her company benefited quite a bit.
Yeah. And
then my final quote this week is Amanda, when she left, just said, failing sucks. Yeah. You know, and she's like, I like to tell myself that this is a really tough competition because there's a lot of great designers here, but she said, doesn't matter, it still sucks to lose. Which is true. So, do you have any final thoughts on this week?
No. I mean, as the weeks go on, it's getting sadder and sadder.
Well, yeah, more and more people we like and who make good, interesting fashion are leaving. Not everyone. And there's still quite a few designers left that I'm excited about. But it's a lot more that I hadn't seen their season. So now I'm like, ooh, I kind of like Fabio's stuff. Ooh, I kind of like Anthony's stuff. And I'd never seen them before. Whereas like the Candace and the Kelly and the Amandas, who I'm like, ooh, I can't wait to see more things. And like if Merlene makes one more week, look, she's out.
Yeah. I'm excited for Fabio. I did see his season, and he has a very unique style. Like, the stuff he makes is usually really interesting. I don't know. Kind of interested to see, like, what Helen's got left. But so far, she hasn't been super impressive this season. Char's kind of hit and miss.
Yeah, when I think Char has grown enough where like her pieces are stronger in general, I think this time than last time. Like sometimes it feels like she kind of like accidentally wound up on a decent design. But like this week I thought was pretty strong. And I don't think she's had as many ups and downs as she did originally on her first season, which is good.
Interested to see Joshua too. Because, like, he's been making some cool, like, more graphic kind of stuff. I like that Target dress that he made, and, you know, that weird appeal of last week's, like, baseball, softball dress.
I wish he stayed with those kind of, like, graphic, bold elements, and less on, like, the sexy, revealing kind of stuff, because he said something to the effect this episode of like, what do I have to do to get them to notice me? Send a nude model down the runway? I'm like, well, there's more to fashion than being revealing. Anything else? Otherwise we'll go to next week's preview.
Yeah, let's get to preview.
Which is the Betty Boop episode. So just as I'm like, God, I am getting kind of bored this season with a lot of the prompts just don't even seem very interesting. Even the unconventional challenge, I'm just like, geez. And then it seems like this season they're hitting like trendy stuff from like a couple years ago. They're like post-apocalyptic fashion, superhero fashion. It's like, what's going on in the media? But it's like, what was going on in the media in like 2016? Again, I don't know exactly when they filmed this, but it just seems like a lot of it seems a little dated and just not super interesting. It's like, hey, fellow kids, like... And then Betty Boop, I'm sorry, it's 2018.
Yeah.
Most people watching this, what the heck? I've never seen like a Betty Boop. I know who she is.
Yeah.
Because she's used a lot of like stickers on cars of like people who really respect women, I think, with like their sexy cutout stickers on the back of their truck. But and like I know that she's got like this high pitched voice because I think I've seen her like in other things of like Betty Boop, but she's just a pinup cartoon. Yeah. So I just like, is that what 2018? Maybe 2018 is gonna be Betty's year. I don't know, but it seems weird. And it looks like, at least with some of the quotes they were saying, was like that they have to make a dress that Betty would wear. So maybe are they gonna like digitize the dress?
Oh, wow.
And Betty Boop's gonna wear it? Like, I don't know. I have no idea. They didn't actually say the prompt. They just made it seem like one of the designers I think said like, oh, Betty wouldn't wear that. And I was like, well, I doubt they're talking about Betty White. I think they're talking about Betty Boop. So that just seems like an odd choice.
Yeah.
But this season's been kind of filled with those kind of odd choices. So. Otherwise, do you have anything else to say?
I don't think so.
All right, well, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Runway. We are also on iTunes podcasts. We're on Google Play. We're on Podiant and a bunch of other podcast sites through there with our RSS feed. We also have a WordPress site. We're on YouTube. So go out there, follow us, comment us, tweet us, let us know. Whatever. Give us rates and reviews. That helps us out a ton. And otherwise, we'll see you guys next week.